I was gonna do the final preparations for our industrial island project here in a stream. But no, I decided instead it might be a fun idea to see the final bunch of prep done in the form of a time lapse. So I really do hope that you folks enjoyed that time lapse. It took a whopping 2 hours to get it done, which makes it by far the most amount of time I have ever spent on just an intro for one of these episodes. And that, my friends, is a trend I have got to stop, because oh my goodness me, am I going to wind up heading for burnout otherwise. But anyways, I really do hope you enjoyed that intro. And hey, as long as that took, look at the results. We have a whopping 140 by 140 block perfect circular area here in Minecraft, ready to have a whole bunch of buildings placed upon it. This has got to be one of the largest, if not the largest, pre-prepared project areas I think I've ever had in Minecraft. I mean, back in the day, I had a project called the Hub, which was basically like a big old underground project area with a bunch of rooms, and those were only like 100 by 100 blocks big because I designed them in such a way that no matter where you were within that project, you would get all of the beacon effects. And beacons, when they are top tier, will have a radius of 50 blocks, which means a diameter of, I guess, 100 blocks or thereabouts. So, yeah, we've got 140 by 140. So what that means for us is we're gonna have to have not just one 2x2 beacon area, we're gonna have 4 if we want the entire area to have effects. And do you know what that means? It means we need 16 beacons, which of course means we need a whopping 3 times 16 wither skeleton skulls. 3 for each of the withers that need to be created. Oh my goodness me, is that going to take some time? Who knows? Maybe I could even go for the goal of making a little bit of a rudimentary wither skelly farm. I can't remember the last time I tried to do that. But anyways, enough chit-chat. Welcome back, my friends, to another episode here of Minecraft Survival from Python's World. So, before I get into what I want to do for today's episode, I want to do just a little bit of trading, because I have had a traveling merchant spawn on in who has something that I'd very much like to have. So, let's just go and do a little bit of this. There's 44 emeralds now. Very nice. Here he is with his llamas, and the thing that he is offering that I would very much like to have is a decent supply of nautilus shells. We've got 5 of them, 3 more and a heart of the sea, and we can make our first conduit of the series. Do you want to know the amazing thing? In my ocean stuffs chest, there is no sign that we have gone ahead and gone treasure hunting, like, at all. If I had gone treasure hunting at any point throughout this series, I probably would have had a Heart of the Sea already, but somehow I don't. So, with those nautilus shells obtained, it's time to move on to what I want to do for today's episode, and that, my friends, is a hostile mob drop farm. I have a crazy amount of cobblestone and stone related resources, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having this be the first build on Industrial Island. That is right, at long last we're getting on with the first build here, and it's going to act as the centerpiece for this area. This 2x2 is going to be basically the kill chamber, and then of course we're going to have ourselves a big chute going up about 24 blocks to the point where if we're down here, then mobs will hopefully be able to spawn up at the spawn platforms. And you know what? I've just had a really fun and cool idea for a little bit of a decorative thing we can do to make it look like not just your typical hostile mob drop farm. I think it'll be really cool to dedicate one of each of the 4 walls to a little bit of pixel art. We've got ourselves zombie flesh here. That could be one of the walls. We've got gunpowder here. That could be another one of the walls. Bones. That could be the third wall. And arrows for the fourth wall. We're not going to have spiders spawn inside of the hostile mob drop farm because, frankly, I just don't want to deal with that faff. Obviously, spiders, they could just climb back up the chute and then, you know, they'll just wind up taking up a whole bunch of spawn spaces that could otherwise be dedicated to the dudes who more easily drop down to the kill chamber, right? So yeah, pixel art in each of the 4 walls. I thought that could be a really, really cool way to go. And hey, I don't think it'll be too difficult to grab ourselves the resources to be able to do this. I mean, hey, regular terracotta and red related blocks for this. I mean, grey is super easy to get. And white is super easy to get. And this is, what is that? That's kind of like a tan color right there. But again, I think that's pretty easily obtainable. Alright, check it out, my friends. I've gone ahead and I've designed some pixel art here. Basically, all I've tried to do is, like, miniaturize the default textures, which is why you can see sort of the full scale 16 by 16 right here, roughly speaking. And then we've got some nice little 8 by 8, which are going to be the ones we use in the walls of our eventual hostile mob drop farm. You can see an example here. We've got the rotten flesh wall done, and it's looking pretty good. Now, in terms of all of the resources we need for these 4 pixel arts, it's actually relatively straightforward. Just a whole bunch of different color terracotta. We've got ourselves some concrete and concrete powder, and then some bone blocks, stripped pale oak wood, and also some stripped spruce. And that is it. They're all incredibly easily obtainable for us at our stage in the game. So, let's head back to the Let's Play world, and let's get this thing underway. If you want to take a screenshot of these so you can use them in your own worlds, by all means, do so. So here we are back in the Let's Play world, my friends, and all we need in terms of the concrete is a little bit of the grey here. Let's just go for, like, a full stack. There we are. And then we also need ourselves some light grey. Then I've got the bone blocks, the pale oak, and the spruce already sorted out. So that just leaves, I think, the terracotta. So here we are, folks. A big old mesa biome. We should be able to get all of the terracotta that we need. And hey, in some cases, we might not even need to dye some. I mean, look at this. We've got some red here already. And that is one of the colored terracottas that I needed. I think a stack of each color of terracotta, then I think we'll be just about there in terms of the resources needed for our lovely pixel art walls. So now it's just brown and black terracotta we need. Seems to be a good amount of, I'm presuming this is black, right? Oh no, it's brown. Oh, interesting. Okay. Does black terracotta even naturally generate? I have no idea. To be honest, it doesn't really matter either way. If it doesn't matter. I just need to grab myself another stack of regular terracotta and then just dye it black, and then we'll be there. Random side note, we're flying over the new industrial island project. Look how perfect the torch grid is. In fact, let me just fly up into the sky and then, oh my goodness me, look at how satisfying that looks though. That's amazing. And here we are, black terracotta being created. And that is it. I now have all of the resources for the pixel art. So we have a big decision to try and make, my friends. And that is, what is the sort of overarching color palette gonna be for our industrial island project? Only I want the builds in this new project to all be sort of uniform in terms of color palette, and honestly, my thinking is we go for something similar to what we've got with Flora Manor up there, in that we've got ourselves some pale oak and deep slate. Basically, black and white. And then, of course, we can add ourselves a whole bunch of green in. Only I want this whole industrial island project to also have sort of a nice nature-y feel to it as well. So, yeah, black and white, and then a bunch of green. I think that'd be a good way to go. Unfortunately, we don't actually have a great deal of cobbled deep slate, nor can you insta-mine it, which is kind of a bit of a yikes, I won't lie. Oh, mama. Okay. we could probably use these bone blocks in the creation of the walls. I know we were going to go for pale oak, but, you know, bone blocks could work pretty nicely alongside our pixel art, right? Shall we do a little bit of a wall test, see how we're feeling? The bone blocks versus pale oak stripped? I mean, the bone blocks definitely have a far cleaner and smoother texture, but I do like the pale oak as well. Oh, I don't know. I must admit, I'm actually more tempted to go for the bone blocks here for the spawn platform walls. Alright, my friends, no more dilly-dallying. Let's get this thing underway, shall we? We're going to start with the finish by adding in the kill chamber area. Here we are, folks. We have ourselves a toggleable kill chamber here. This is currently set in active mode, so any mobs that drop onto this platform will come down to a one-shot, and then we finish them off to get ourselves some XP and an increased drop rate of items via the looting effect here. And then we flick this switch, and bada bing, bada boom, it becomes passive mode. So the dudes just flat out die when they drop onto the hoppers here. Now, I won't lie, this definitely took me a good amount of attempts to get right. You might have noticed in the previous cut, I tried to have the kill chamber sort of in the floor. But no, I discovered that that was not the right way to do it. If I wanted a 2x2 kill chamber, I'd need to have it sort of raised off the ground very, very slightly. And yeah, no matter what happens, the mobs will not be able to see me down here. And especially in the case of creepers, they won't be able to blow this place up. Something else I've realized since the last cut is using bone blocks for the spawn platform walls up at the top. Yes, it's a good idea, and I really like the texture of these bone blocks. But there might be a little bit of an issue when it comes to adding the little pixel arts that I showed you earlier, particularly the bone one. So in the case of the bone pixel art, I made a very slight amendment, and that is to replace the bone blocks used on the bone pixel art with white wool. And yeah, it looks pretty good, and you can see over here, yeah, it works all right. And yeah, you can see we've got ourselves some tinted glass here as well. That is something else I'd like to add eventually, but we're not in any kind of rush to get that done, because, well, I don't really have easy access to tinted glass just yet. But anyways, we've got plenty of steps to get done before we get on with the walls. Starting off with heightening this chute to 24 blocks tall from the point of the actual kill chamber itself. So it'll be 24 blocks from here, not here. So from up here, we need to go 22 blocks up, and probably the easiest way to keep count is to just add 22 onto the Y value there, which means we need to go up to Y94. So here we are up at Y94. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some vines and string in. The reason we're doing this is so we can essentially reset the full damage for any of the mobs that come through here. So, for example, if they are on the third spawn platform up and they fall all the way down, they'll just flat out die. But if we have them go through this little vine platform first, it will reset their full damage and it will bring them down to a one-shot if the platform down at the bottom there is present. So the next thing we need to do is we need to go 8 blocks out in all directions and then add ourselves in the wall. So we're currently 3 blocks out, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then the next one would be the beginnings of the wall. Alrighty, the water flow areas have been added, but I think I've already messed up in that what I actually need to do is I need to have some upside down stairs. So we've got sort of a nice curve at the edge, and then we begin on the bone block walls. So I think from here what we could do is we could start adding in a whole bunch more upside down stairs, which sort of act as sort of the foundations of the walls, if you will. Jeez, I've made a big mistake here. The first of the spawning platforms is actually where this bone block is here, then the second one, then the third one. So that means the pixel art starts from, I think, here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then all the way up to the top there is indeed 8 blocks, and we have 8x8 pixel arts, don't we? So basically, I need to raise all of these stair blocks up by a couple of blocks. Alright, there we are. We have ourselves the upside down stairs heightened by a couple of blocks, and I've even got in the first spawn platform now, which is very, very good. Let's go ahead and get ourselves another one added in just here. They're all 8x8, so pretty much every quadrant winds up being exactly a full stack of blocks, which is pretty satisfying to deal with, I won't lie. So let's just get this little platform added in, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at it from the bottom, see what kind of progress we're making. Yeah. That doesn't look too bad, does it, my friends? And it's not looking, like, super blocky either. You know, I've got stairs all over the place to try and curve things off quite nicely. Maybe in the corners I could have some, like, deep slate walls to try and curve off the corners, you know, at the sides of the walls, perhaps. In order to save on resources just a little bit, I think the second and the third spawn platforms, I'm going to use maybe a little bit of pale oak instead, only I have a limited amount of bone blocks on me, and I still have all of the walls yet to do. And hey, consider this. No one's going to be able to see the second and the third spawn platforms inside of this farm. Only really the bottom ones, because, you know, a lot of the time we're just going to be at the bottom here. So, yeah, as you can see, you can only see the first one. Some people might call that cutting corners, but I call it being smart with my resources. Alrighty, second spawn layer has been added, and I feel like what I should be going as I go along is going ahead and adding in the spider spawning limiters. All you got to do is place down a bunch of carpets, rather like what I've done here. And then I'm also going to go ahead and get some torches placed down so we don't have any accidental spawns. Alright, time to get the third and final spawn layer added in. Alrighty, so having removed an 8-block wide area of the bone block wall, we are now ready to begin on our first pixel art. And we're going to start off with probably the more difficult one, which is going to be rotten flesh. I say it's difficult, mostly because it's a rather interesting shape. So, we've got the black terracotta. We're going to do ourselves just a little bit of this. I should probably have some bone blocks on me as sort of scaffolding blocks. I mean, they are, at the end of the day, going to be replaced anyway. So, we've got brown and then brown, and that goes up 2 blocks. And then we're going to have brown here, and then we go up. Brown here, and then we go up. Brown here, then we go up, and finally, one final brown right there. Then we're going to switch back to the black down the bottom here, and we're going to add 2 in like that. We're going to add in another 2. Then it's going to be 1 at the edge. And then sort of the inside of the rotten flesh is going to be red terracotta. So we can use the red terracotta almost like a scaffolding block as well. And then we're going to sort of go in a block and then out a block. And then it's going to be red here. And then it's going to be like an L shape of black terracotta, rather like that. And that is sort of the outline of the rotten flesh pixel art done. Then what I did on my creative test run version is I just filled it all in with red and then dug out all the little detailing bits. So we're going to kick things off with some regular undyed terracotta, rather like that, and then we're going to go at it with some orange terracotta, adding in a few blocks rather like that. And believe it or not, that is that done. And there it is! Rotten flesh pixel art, perfectly centered on the wall there. Absolutely beautiful. I really like the look of that, actually. What I'm not liking the look of, though, is my severely low firework rocket supply. I'm gonna hope, like really, really hope, that I've got maybe a few stray bits of gunpowder in my chest here. If I don't, then we're kind of screwed. Oh no, we've got a little bit here. Okay, that's better than nothing. It should last us until the end of today's project. So, yeah, we should be okay. Alright, time to grab myself some concrete for the gunpowder pixel art. So then, gunpowder pixel art time. Down the bottom here, we're going to have ourselves a row of 4. Then we're going to go up, and then we're going to go up 3 blocks rather like that. And of course we're going to have this be nice and symmetrical, so we're going to do the exact same on this side. And then we're going to go up, rather like this. Then up again, like this. And then at the top here, we're going to go across 2. We're going to do the same on this side. Up 1, across, and then up 1, rather like that. So now we've got sort of the outline done. And now what we need to do is we need to start adding in the inside of the gunpowder. And to give it its proper little shadow effect, we've got ourselves the grey concrete powder. And we're simply going to add it along the bottom and the side, rather like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start going ham with all 3 of these concrete related blocks, starting off with the watered solid concrete, light grey here, doing a little bit of an L shape, and then we're going to have ourselves light grey, grey, light grey. Then we're going to have sort of a zigzag line of the light grey concrete you see here, so going across and down, rather like that. Then it's going to be some light grey concrete powder, grey and grey. Then we've got the solidified concrete going here, 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 and here. And then we're going to finish it off with some light grey concrete powder. Now, I know that sort of step-by-step might have been a bit skew-if, but ultimately, you should wind up with something that looks like that. Yeah, that's not too bad, is it? So checking it out from a diagonal angle so we can see 2 of the pixel art, I think that is looking really quite good. Alrighty, just a quick little pit stop to the sheep shearing tower so I could pick myself up some wool for the bone pixel art. And then, yeah, we should be ready to go. So let's get the bone pixel art done next, shall we? We're going to have ourselves a little bit of sort of shadowing going on here. So starting off with some light grey concrete, rather like this. Then we're going to go up sort of perfectly diagonally. And then at the top right, we're going to have ourselves sort of an L shape, rather like that. Then we're going to get sort of the center white bit of the bone done, and that's going to be nice and simple in that we have ourselves some pale oak bark blocks. And then we start going at it with some wool. Basically the reverse pattern of the light grey concrete you saw just a moment ago. So we're going to go up in an L shape, then up, 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 up. And then at the top here, again, an L shape. So the big question is, how is that looking? Does it still kind of pop out from the background? Ooh. Kinda. But not a lot. Maybe I'll grow to love it over time, but right now I don't feel like it sort of pops out from the background enough. Of course, if you guys have any suggestions as to other white-related textures I could use that might help this bone pixel art pop out from the background a bit more, by all means, let me know in the comments area. Alrighty, that just leaves us with the arrow pixel art, and this one is actually relatively straightforward. Again, going with sort of the shadowing effect we've got going on. We've got ourselves some light grey here, then it's going to be some wool, and then with the spruce wood we're going to go 4 blocks up diagonally, and of course we're going to strip this so it becomes a bit more of a tan texture. Then to the right we're going to add in some more of these shadowy light grey concrete blocks, and then it's going to be like an S shape of white wall, rather like that. So let's go ahead and get the remainder of the bone blocks restored here, and then we'll have a look at this here arrow pixel art. So pop it down here, do a 180, and oh, yet again it doesn't pop out. Man, I'm really starting to doubt that having bone block walls was the best idea. I mean, the thing is, even if I had pale oak walls, the pixel art still wouldn't sort of pop out from the background, would they? I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe once this is all up and running and we've got ourselves like the tinted windows in, maybe then they'll pop out a little bit more. But for now, I'm kind of, I don't know, man. I'm not entirely sure that I'm liking the bone and arrow pixel art. Alrighty, so I was saying that the corners I wanted to have some deep slate walls, so let's go ahead and add them in and see how we're feeling. Yeah, I think that they work real nicely. Right, all we have to do now is get ourselves a roof on this thing, and I think what we're going to go for is a nice slabbed border and then just a nice sort of white top. Alright, quickly doing a little bit of pale oak tree chopping pass, because oh my gosh, is it going to be needed. Only I've just remembered that I'm going to need, I think, a full stack of trapdoors per spawn layer. So that means 3 stacks of trapdoors are needed. So that's going to add up to quite a lot of wood being needed, isn't it, my friends? But thankfully, pale oak comes in 2x2 tree form, so getting lots of it is actually really, really easy. Oh, and we also need the pale oak for pale oak slabs for the roof. You might notice I've got myself a little bit of a border up there of deep slate tile slabs. I thought that would be a nice idea to add just a tiny bit more depth to this thing. And then if we head up top, I'm trying to add a little bit more depth to the top as well. In that we've got ourselves a little bit of elevation difference. I figured, I don't know, a little bit of a heightened border could be a cool way to go. And don't worry, these are still half slabs. These are not full blocks, so no one should ever be able to spawn up here. And now with these pale oak slabs, all we got to do is fill in each of the 4 quadrants with the pale oak slabs you see here. Alright, so that's the last of the slabs added, and now I've got myself a bunch of pale oak trapdoors, and I'm also going to go ahead and start getting rid of some of these here torches as we go along. So yeah, we want to go ahead and add in trapdoors lining the edges of all of the spawn platforms. For any of you guys who don't know why you put down trapdoors, it's because for whatever reason, hostile mobs class trapdoors as a block they can walk upon. So they won't hesitate to just walk on the trapdoors, even if they're open, and just fall down into the water flow. Oh, turns out we never placed down the water flows. Aha. Well, that's a bit silly of me, isn't it? Alright, I'm going to need to make myself a temporary infinite water source here just for a second. Now to rid the torches, and then we need to get the heck out of here, because this thing is about to be operational. Right, let me just go ahead and get rid of this here water source as well, and then that will be it. Oh, well, we need to remember to place down the carpet back in the corner there. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. This farm is now ready. Let's get ourselves out of here. Make sure we place everything back down. And then we can head on down the bottom. Happy in the knowledge that everything is complete. Oh, man, it feels good to say that. Oh, I felt like I was dilly-dallying way too much at the beginning stages of that project, but we've got there in the finish, haven't we? So let's bring up the entity count. Is there anyone up there at the moment? I wouldn't have thought so, because, yeah, there's going to be quite a lot of dudes around here. If, however, I flew away a ton of distance to the point where everybody around here despawns, then I fly back, maybe then there'll be a bunch of dudes in our brand new hostile mob drop farm. From afar, this farm looks really cool, doesn't it? I really love the gunpowder and the rotten flesh pixel arts in particular. They just look so good, don't they? Right, so here we are, flying back. Any entities up there now? Yeah, there's 2 entities up there. And it turns out it was a couple of creepers. Perfect, because I need gunpowder. Stat! I've been criminally low on gunpowder for so long now. It goes without saying, the rates from this farm at the start are going to be, well, poor, for lack of a better word. Only there's a bunch of caves underneath here that definitely have not been explored. The caves that we have been exploring, of course, have mostly been around Firefly Falls, way over there. So, yeah, there's a whole new roost of caves underneath us that need to be explored and lit up. So, in the coming few episodes, who knows? There might just be a good old-fashioned caving episode to come. Apparently we have a skeleton here now. Hello! Thank you very much for your arrows. And I'm pretty sure we dropped some bones as well. Yep, there we are. So there we are, my friends. The centerpiece of Industrial Island and the first build on our new Industrial Island project. Now done and dusted. Oh, hey there, Mr. Zomble. Oh, wow, that guy just gave me a carrot. Thank Thanks, buddy. But yeah, on that successful and happy note, it's time to wrap up the episode. But of course, before we do so, I've got some dono shoutouts and the comment of the day to do. So starting off with Angela H with the $9.99 super chat dono since the last episode. Really appreciate that, Angela. Look at that, you're up here even on the same page. I really appreciate the continued support. Thank you so much for that. And then we've got Metaton with the £9.99 donation. Metaton, thank you so much for that, buddy. I really appreciate it. And that just leaves us with the comment of the day, which for today comes from SmileyR979. I really do wish that this style of content becomes big again. I always love the chill vibes over the chaotic and rushed content that has unfortunately become the norm. Much love, Python, as always. Thank you so much for the kind words there, Smiley. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, honestly, me too. I feel like what has been going on in the Minecraft YouTube space has sort of gone on long enough. I feel like there needs to be something new come along, or maybe just another sort of ye olde Let's Play resurgence like there was back in 2019. That would be really nice. At the end of the day, I always feel like it's really important to remember where things started, where things come from. And, you know, the humble beginnings that were sort of classic style Let's Plays. It'll be so nice to have another Let's Play resurgence. Maybe it will happen, maybe it won't. I've no idea. Unfortunately, I don't have a crystal ball, but hey, it's all good. At the end of the day, there's still a handful of YouTubers who still do these classic style Let's Plays. You've got people like Pixel Rivs and DallasMed65 with their long-lasting Let's Plays. And of course, the legend himself, Etho, continuing with his one even after all of these years. So yeah, there's definitely a good amount of folks out there who still do them. It's just a case of trying to find them in amongst all the sort of newer style content. Now, under no circumstances am I dogging on anyone who wants to get in on the new styles of Minecraft content. Not at all. Everybody's got their hustle, everybody's got their own grind, everybody's got their own preference, and that's totally fine. But I won't lie, I would definitely be someone who would enjoy a classic style Let's Play resurgence again. But yeah, I don't know, might happen. Might not. I don't want to tell you. All I can say is I really do appreciate all of you folks who do continue to support me even after all these years. I know I've not really adapted my style of content over the many years I've been on this platform. And yeah, that's probably a big reason as to why my growth has been non-existent here on YouTube lately. That, and I feel like YouTube basically flicked a switch with all of my channels to the point where they just never ever get recommended to anyone new anymore. It's just sort of a small cross-section of my more dedicated fan base that get recommended the videos. They just don't get recommended to new folks anymore, which is why the numbers just keep going down and down and down as folks wind up, unfortunately, losing interest. And, you know, that's just the cycle of life, really. People grow up, people grow out of what they might once have enjoyed, you know? It's just how it goes. But it would be nice if YouTube could recommend my content to new people to maybe replace the folks that are sort of leaving the community or whatever may be happening. I don't know. I feel like I'm sort of projecting at this point, so I'm just going to wrap up the episode by saying a huge thank you for all of you folks who do continue to support me. I really appreciate it. Of course, drop a like if you do enjoy these episodes. I'd really appreciate a like, especially on this episode with the 2-hour time-lapse intro. And of course, our first build here in the Industrial Island project area. Really appreciate a like rating there, my friends. Of course, if you are new around here and you don't want to miss out on my future content, first of all, a warm welcome to you. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen today, and I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel with the spam notifications turned on, and that way you'll be the first to know when the new episodes roll out. For now though, my friends, thank you so much for watching. Do have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you folks in the next one. Bye bye.